Do you wave your terrible towel when Renegade plays? Reach for a tasty cake when JJ shouts, "He scores!" Does the sound of an F1 engine make your heart race? Doing push-ups with a Nittany Lion after a TD? Then lend us an ear, and we will share the exhilaration of Steelers football, the excitement of Flyers hockey, the nail-biting finishes of F1, and the pride when we yell, "We are Penn State." Welcome to the SteelFlyers show, the strangest combination of sports fandom since pineapple was put on pizza.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. But here's your host, SteelFlyers.
Who's not really losing his hair, and anyway, so thank you for the wonderful introductions. That's the delightful and the lovely RoNece, our co-host. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing just fine and dandy. We are all here at the SteelFlyers Sports Network talking about, guess what? Sports. Yeah, baby.
Well, how about that?
Well, that's the good thing, right?
Right.
We're all here talking about sports, so...
And it's ramping up to be that season again where we get them all at the same time.
That's right. Pretty soon we'll have weekends where, gosh, you won't know what to do. You'll turn the channel, it'll be a college football game. You'll turn the channel, it'll be a baseball game. You'll turn the channel, it'll be a basketball game. You turn the channel, it'll be a football, a professional football game. Turn on the channel, it'll be a hockey game on. Oh my gosh, is it time yet? Are we there yet? Can we get there yet? I mean... All right, is it October yet?
Not quite.
All right, because that's when the hockey season starts.
Yes.
So, we are excited to talk about a lot of things. We got a lot of stuff to get into, so we're going to start right off with, let's start talking about the Flyers.
Yes, because we're getting closer and closer to hockey season.
Yes, we are Ron Hextall days away.
Is that what it is today?
Yes.
Okay.
Those of you who don't know, that's 27 days away.
They always pop up online
I know.
when we start getting close.
Right, yesterday was the Claude Giroux, and I was like, oh, okay, so today's got to be Ron Hextall. He's the only 27 I can think of or remember. Anyway, but that's how many days we are, and we've got a rookie game being streamed today against the Rangers.
Wow, who's playing?
There is a list of players for the Flyers that are going to be playing, and if you give me just a quick second here, our quick crack research staff.
I was going to go, he's going to the research department.
Right, the research department.
Better known as Google.
No, not even. I didn't have to go there.
I
already had it. I already had it queued up. Come on, give me a break. Jeez. We got... We're going to be looking at Zamula here, and Mason Millman, Wyatt Wiley, Cooper Zek, Ethan Sampson, and Jackson Vandeleest is going to be the defenseman that we're going to be looking at. And we're also going to be taking another good hard look at Linus Sandin, Morgan Frost, Tyson Forster. Looking at this, and the Asemu Tuama'ala, the Finn that was drafted, is also going to be playing in. Wade Allison's going to be in there too.
That's a name, man.
Yeah, Jackson Cates, Isaac Radcliffe, Nolan Ritchie, and Matthew Strom. Krill Ustamentenko and Samuel Erson are going to be the goalies. So quite an interesting group of young players that's going to be playing here for the Flyers.
How many
today.
of them do you think will actually be on the team this year?
Well, okay, so we talked about this on the Hockey Writers Inc. show the other day with special guest host Isaiah from O&B Puckcast. By the way, you got to check that out. That's out on the Spreaker, not on Spreaker. That's out on the YouTube there for the Hockey Writers Inc. You got to check that out, man, for sure. Or you can check it out at steelflyers.com/link/Hockey Writers Inc. To catch all the latest shows there. But anyway, during that show, we were talking exactly about that. Who of these players is going to be the ones that are going to be, suiting up for the big club?
Right.
And you got to look at Morgan Frost. Has to be going into this as that number one prospect. He's coming off the shoulder injury and surgery that ended his season last year early after barely a game, and they're saying that he's bulked up and he looks good and so, but he needs to be one of those ones.
He needs to do it this season.
Right. Isaac Radcliffe is another one that needs to be like, all right, this is how it's going to be. I also think too that Wade Allison is turning a lot of heads as well too, and he's going to be, I think. Well, obviously these folks are all going to get invited to the regular training camp.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they need to be significant. I mean, these are older players that have been drafted now for a couple of years. They've been in the system now for a couple of years now, and they it's time.
Yeah.
The team admittedly took a regressive step or two back last year with the young players not stepping up but taking a step backwards.
Yeah.
And not all the veterans, stepped up to where they needed to be and everything like that. So, it was an underachieving year last year, admittedly, from, management all the way down. So this year has to be, it's kind of make it or break it for some of these players now at this point, you know. And these guys weren't drafted by Chuck Fletcher either. So he has no, real...
Well, I mean, sure, he's, got information on them.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that he has no loyalties to them. He didn't draft them, so if they suddenly are no longer part of the team, oh, well, I didn't draft them, see ya.
Yeah, I didn't pick you.
So, yeah, right, I didn't pick you. We tried you out, but sorry, you didn't make the cut. So, looking forward to that as far as that's concerned with the game coming out, and that's going to be, I mean, gosh, we're going to have, that's professional hockey on the ice already, holy smokes.
Yeah, really.
Anyway, so looking very forward to that as well, too. Look, this team this year needs to be the turnaround year.
I hope so. I mean, before we got hit with COVID, our team was on an upswing.
And that's going back to what we mean by being hit by COVID, when the league shut down.
Yeah.
That, it was, to me, was the turning point in the Flyers' last 18 months. Because the team was winning, was on a win streak of 9 games in a row.
Right.
Right? And had only just lost to Boston. Right? Right at that,
Right, that I think was either their second to last game or last game.
Yeah, it was, right? So, it was a team on the rise, had scored, the most points in December and January, you know what I mean? And they were one of the teams on the rise, and they were coming through, and then the shutdown hit.
Right. And we've talked about that.
And yeah, exactly, we talked about that, but when the Flyers came back to the bubble, it was a much different team.
It really was.
It was a much different team. And then they lost eventually to the Islanders.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they barely won against Montreal, and then they lost to the Islanders. But we thought, all right, the surprise, retirement of Niskanen, rippled through this franchise like something I've never seen before.
It was weird.
It was so weird because I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy, because he was a cup winning defenseman who played for a number of years and decided to retire. So you can't take anything away from him. But it's not like he was the next coming.
Well, he was part of the team, but he wasn't just, it wasn't like the team should have been able to kind of fill in that hole and,
Even by committee, they tried to fill the hole, and that didn't work too well. Whatever strings that Mr. Fletcher pulled last year broke. So whatever things that happened to try to put the team together or get the team righted or whatever the case was, they didn't go all that well.
No.
This year now, there's been a huge turnaround in this roster. There has been a huge amount of players that have left and players that have come in. You know, where...
It's been a really big shift. And
exactly.
the theory is that the shift was to get some of the people that weren't very supportive of the changes and get people in that were. Does that make sense?
That's a good way to put that. That is the most diplomatic way I've ever heard anybody say, hey, you get rid of the people that aren't on board. I mean, I don't know about you folks, but that sounded pretty diplomatic to me. I mean, goodness gracious. Anyway. But yeah, that's basically what happened. The guys that weren't buying in or weren't on board were shipped out. And money was able to be moved and everything like that. And, you know, a lot of things happened where a lot of change has happened to this team. Not just on the young side of things, but the fact that Chuck Fletcher traded away his first-round draft pick indicates that this is a win-now team, at least for the next 2 years.
We hope so.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, we hope it's a win-now team. I mean, come on. But this, as we say, all hinges on basically 2 players, if you must know the truth.
2 players? Which 2 players?
All right. We barely even scraped this during the show on the Hockey Writers Inc. the other day. With special guest host Isaiah from OMB Podcast.
I think you said that before.
Yes. But we barely even talked about the goaltending situation going on in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, I guess that is an important part of it, isn't it?
Because if a certain Carter Hart doesn't play like Carter Hart, then we're going to have a much higher draft pick next year.
That was the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Right?
That you had like 4 different accents going on there.
Isn't that sick?
All at the same time.
Translation: if Carter Hart doesn't play like Carter Hart, then we're going to have a really high draft pick next year.
Oh my gosh.
Because if he doesn't play like we know he can play, like he was playing before we got into the bubble, and then even when he got into the bubble, like that didn't really seem to affect him.
It just
affected everybody else.
Right. He kind of fell apart last year, and
that would be putting it mildly. Now, look, I think one of the biggest problems, though, was the whole COVID shutdown, and then when the team all contracted COVID and got socked with it, and they had to, you know, shut down and stop play for a number of games, and they missed a number of games, and the team clearly came back a step different after that.
right.
You know, for sure. But, and he only played in less than 50% of the games last year, and that's not something that you need to be seeing from your starting goaltender.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I also feel that one of the biggest factors from last year is going to be something that's not going to be a factor for this year.
Okay.
Practice.
Oh, no, we should definitely have a much better year regarding that because you're not having 4 games a week.
Yeah, but there's going to be time for practice.
Right. There wasn't last year.
Well, right, because everything was all like, all right, we're playing 56 games and you got 3.5 months, go!
It will have to go down as one of the weirdest seasons in hockey history.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I don't care what anybody says. I don't think you can put an asterisk next to it and go, oh, it wasn't a competitive season. Or
no,
whatever,
I have
blah, blah, blah.
absolutely not. It was a very competitive season.
I think the NHL did a marvelous job of ensuring that the games would be entertaining and that matchups were, I mean, the amount of matchups were, all right.
I think, and putting the temporary divisions in, I think really helped because you didn't have to worry about teams traveling across the country and, you know, and causing all sort. I mean, we had enough problems as it was. Can you imagine if they had been like, you know, New York was going to California or Texas or Arizona or Florida? You know, it would have just been worse.
Right. Well, that's not going to be right.
They wouldn't have survived.
And that's not going to be the issue this year. The issue is going to be going back and forth to Canada. So protocols have been put in place.
Right.
If players do not want to be vaccinated, which they can choose to not be vaccinated, they will basically be forfeiting game checks as they will be deemed unavailable for the game that is going to be in Canada, because Canada still has the travel restrictions in place unless you're vaccinated, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's going to make it really tough to be an unvaccinated player in the league coming up as far as this year is concerned.
I read, I think the other day, that the Flyers are almost all the way there.
90. I think I saw that too, where Chuck Fletcher came out. He had a presser here a couple of days ago where him and the assistant GM came out, and they basically said that the Flyers are at this point right now like 95% vaccinated or something like that,
and they will be completely
anticipate
by the start of the season.
Yep.
They'll be
fully vaccinated,
which I think is what's going to happen with most teams.
Well, that's how it is in the NFL.
Wasn't there a coach on the Kraken though that couldn't
and was subsequently released
because he couldn't take the
and a
vaccine?
coach from the Columbus Blue Jackets as well.
We'll not get into that.
But that's a major, coaching changes because of that. So
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of the Kraken, I know this is not exactly on topic, but are you excited about them joining this year? Is it going to be fun to have another team?
I'm excited because they're going to be playing the Flyers like in October.
Okay. One of our first teams.
Yeah, one of our first games. I think that's part of our home stand.
Okay.
There's like a big home stand in October with the Flyers, which, well, that's unusual right there to begin with.
Well, we're still starting on the road, though, right?
No, actually, I think we're starting at home.
Whoa.
Yeah, right. Wait a minute. Are you sure you're talking about the Flyers? Yes, we're talking about the Flyers. Yeah, I think they are starting at home on the 15th, I believe. Our crack research staff.
How do we have a Flyer show and not know when the Flyers are starting? How much do we suck right now?
Well, that's not it. It's like we're more concentrated on the fact that there's a frickin' rookie game going to be streamed here in a little bit, and so we're more worried about that, watching that. Right? The first game is the 15th.
No. Oh, that's preseason. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
That's this preseason. I'm like, it says September. Ooh.
Right.
No, yes, you're right. It's October 15th against the Canucks.
Against the Canucks.
And then our second game is the Kraken.
Right. I knew it was like one of the first couple games. So there you go. Is it at home? Is it in Philadelphia?
I don't know how to tell. It doesn't say on here.
Let me see your book there. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. If the Flyers are on the bottom.
Just click it, it'll tell you.
No, I'm telling you. If the Flyers' name is on the bottom, they're the home team.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so yes, Seattle is coming to Philadelphia for their second game.
Okay.
So Philadelphia has an opening 4-game homestand.
Wow, that's going to be interesting.
Right? So yeah, we're looking forward to that, at least the opening part of the season, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So looking forward to that.
They need to get a good start.
That would be putting it mildly, I would have to say.
We say that every year, but...
Yeah, but it means it rings a little bit truer this year, I think.
Because it's always the same story. We don't start well, and then towards the end of the season, we're desperate for points. So
exactly.
If we could get a couple more in the beginning, we won't be so desperate, hopefully.
Hey, what do you know? Go figure. Gosh, what do you know? Jeez. Anyway, so speaking about getting points. More points! We got to talk a little bit about the Penn State Nittany Lions, ranked number 10 in the nation.
How about that?
Now, look, I know what you're all going to say. We're kind of a little bit leery of that, too, when they first came out and they were ranked against Wisconsin. And we thought that, yeah, maybe that's being a little generous, ranking them in the top 20.
Right.
To start off the season.
Because we have a lot of freshmen on the team, correct?
And last year they ranked him in the top 10. And well, we all know what happened last year. It was bad last year.
Okay.
Yeah, we lost a lot of games last year.
Okay.
Anyway. So, ranking Penn State preseason that high was like, well, that's lofty.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they came out and beat Wisconsin.
That was a shocker to a lot of people.
Because every single prognosticator, every single talking head, every college football quote-unquote expert in the land picked Wisconsin to win that game.
Yeah. And
all I have to say is, we are
You're scared.
Penn State. So, yes, I know I'm scaring everybody, but seriously, everybody picked Wisconsin to win that game.
They did.
Right.
They really did.
It was like everybody picked the Bills to beat the Steelers, and
yeah,
what?
that didn't happen either.
Every single prognosticator across the board. It was crazy. Like, I thought I never would see that again when I saw everybody selecting Wisconsin against Penn State. Like, I never saw every single person, like every outlet, from CBS to, every, ESPN, every outlet, everyone picked Wisconsin. Well, they did the same thing. Everybody picked Buffalo.
Right.
Against the Steelers.
Let them keep doing it. Let them keep doing it.
Yeah, right. Keep doing that.
Keep underestimating them. That's fine. Right.
This week's going to be against another tough opponent for Penn State, and that's Auburn. And Auburn is coming in.
More Eagles.
Auburn is Tigers.
I'm kidding. It was a joke. I'm sorry.
Okay. But yeah, so Auburn's coming into town in Happy Valley, and primetime game tonight at 7:30. And I think that's going to be a major. This is even though Penn State's undefeated, I think this has to be a must-win. This is in that must-win category.
Why?
Well, because Auburn is ranked 22nd. Auburn is usually known to be one of the better schools out there. That usually has one of the better programs, better records. So. Beating Auburn at Happy Valley would be a good way, a long way going.
Right, for their standing and ranking and all of that.
Exactly, because in the end, when you look at the playoffs, you have to look at strength of schedule, and if Penn State continually is beating ranked teams, that makes it, that bodes well for them because now they're beating ranked teams.
Right.
And stuff like that. So, and then those teams go on and beat other teams too, and so. I like what our boy said at the beginning of college. The one of the pregame shows we were watching.
Okay.
And they said that Penn State still has to play Ohio State.
Right.
And I have to agree with that. Penn State still is going to have to face Ohio State, no matter what Ohio State's doing or whatever's going on over there in Ohio State. Those two teams still are going to have to match up and play.
Right.
And I think that's going to decide who's going to win the Big Ten, unless Michigan has something to say about it.
I don't know. How's Michigan doing this year?
Unless Michigan has something to say about it. Right, you know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see because exactly what we talked about as well, too. There was a lot of turnover with this team last year, missing a lot of guys that got drafted. Fairmouth is out,
right.
You know what I mean? And so just some other players that have been drafted over the last 2 years. And so there's a lot of much younger players. And is this Penn State defense for real. I mean, they've held ranked teams to under a certain number of points per game in the last two games.
Yeah.
They've held opponents to less than a certain number of rushing and things of that nature. So I mean, this defense,
it's got hope.
It's got hope, and we're not saying that there might be a certain player on the team right now.
Who?
For Penn State, that's kind of being a really great standout, starting to become a standout player. Last name of Porter.
Oh.
But we're not gonna
focus on the fact that he's Joey Porter's son. No.
No, we would never. But kid is balling out, man. Like, all right, he's playing like his old man. So
hey, I'm sure he was instructed well.
Yeah, I'm sure he was, because Joey Porter played really good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got no complaints from Joey Porter's play on the Steelers at all. But his son is is definitely getting his name mentioned a lot more now.
Good.
During the games, but that defense itself, that defensive front has been getting to the quarterbacks and has been limiting the running attacks of the other, the opposition.
Okay.
And so that's where I think has been the biggest thing, because now that allows their secondary to play a lot more, take more chances, because that front is getting more pressure on the quarterback and is allowing and making the quarterback throw the ball quicker.
Right, and that gets the quarterback out of rhythm, and then it kind of...
Exactly, and then you throw some cornerbacks back there that, tend to be ball hawks.
Right.
And suddenly the ball's flying all over the place. What do you know? But the only other thing I'm going to have to say about especially tonight's game and the rest of Penn State's season is this going to be the year where we see Sean take those next progressive steps? Is the quarterback for Penn State going to be able to make those next progressive steps?
Yeah.
He's shown it so far. He's been able to manage the games. He's made some good decisions. He's made a couple of bad decisions, some boners. He's thrown some balls and, hey, probably shouldn't have thrown that one, Sean.
Yeah, it's a learning process,
but,
right?
Well, look, let's face it. Penn State is not a quarterback college.
No.
I mean, the best quarterbacks in the land don't go to Penn State.
No.
For a reason. I mean, that's what they call it. Linebacker U for a reason, but...
It hasn't been that in a while, though.
Well, it's coming back around.
Okay.
Because Parsons went to Dallas very high in the draft. He was picked in the first round. Mike Parsons, linebacker from Penn State, went to Dallas. And I believe he will be starting for the Cowboys, or is starting for the Cowboys, or is contributing or playing or whatever. So, you could say maybe we might be back in that little category there, and so anyway. But looking forward to Penn State having a primetime game and playing against
It'll
them.
be a good one. And what I found interesting was, you pointed this out earlier, is it Game Day Live, the ESPN?
Yeah.
They're at Penn State.
Yeah, they were at Penn State. That's why, I don't normally plug, that channel.
I know. I just thought it was interesting.
But they were at Happy Valley, and so it's like, oh, wow, they're at Happy Valley, Because Penn State doesn't usually get a lot of love nationally.
Right. I mean, because we're not...
Yeah, because Penn State, never...
We're not Alabama.
We're not Alabama, that's right. We're not Alabama, so we don't have, a national champion winning coach, and we're not Alabama.
We still love our team.
That's right. We still love our team no matter what. And
it's a whiteout today, too.
Of course. So go Penn State, go Lions, go Happy Valley. We're hoping that that Nittany is doing a lot of push-ups.
Yes.
In the end zone, and that place I have had the distinct honor and privilege of being to 3 whiteout games in my lifetime. Okay? 3 whiteout games. Now, I never painted myself.
Oh, that's good.
Right, because, well, no. Let's face it. I mean, I have more than one brain cell, so I'm not painting myself white, but I've been to 3 whiteout games in my lifetime, and they were some of the most rockinest games I've ever been to. They've been some of the most intense games where it's a very important game for Penn State to win.
Right.
And the fans know that. And that's why it is the way it is. And
it gets everybody hyped up.
And this is a prime time national TV against an SEC team. I mean, come on!
Let's go.
Right. Is it kickoff yet? I mean, that's all I gotta say. Is it kickoff yet? Right? I'm excited. I'm really excited. I really want to see if this is gonna be it. If Penn State can play well, whether they win or lose.
But if they hold their own?
If they hold their own against Auburn, then that to me is a really good sign of life. That to me is a really good sign of improvement from last year.
Okay.
Okay? Whether they win or not, I can't call this game. I don't know. I don't have a finger on it. I'm not going to try.
Auburn apparently is playing not as well as people thought. Is that correct?
Something along those lines. Yeah, I mean, they're still ranked 22nd in the nation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the other thing too, where it's Auburn and they're coming into to Penn State, and Penn State's playing at home, and they opened the season on the road against Wisconsin.
Right.
And then played at home against Ball State. But the fact that they opened on the road, something they haven't done in a while. So.
Go Penn State.
Yep, go Penn State. Speaking of opening on the road, and then coming back for some home cooking.
That's a good way to put it.
Right?
Yeah.
Coming back for some good old-fashioned Pimani Brothers sandwich. Right?
Right.
I mean, as the Pittsburgh Steelers welcome the Las Vegas Raiders for the home opener.
Okay, so we go back 25 years, and we find ourselves and we say, look, Las Vegas is going to get the Raiders. And do you think we'd look at ourselves
25 years ago?
Yeah, what?
No, imagine 25 years ago saying, look, not only is Las Vegas going to get the Raiders, but they're going to have a Stanley Cup contending hockey team too.
Yeah.
Like, who'da thunk?
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's Vegas. And,
It's Vegas, right. Now, they've had a pretty good college basketball program out there.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe it's the Running Rebels or something along that lines. It's
okay.
Right, Las Vegas Running Rebels or something like that. And they had a pretty good, their basketball team has been pretty good over the years historically. So how
are the Raiders doing this year so far?
Well, week 1, guess who they beat?
Patriots?
No.
I have no idea. I didn't pay attention.
Even better.
The Bucks.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, okay, I'll take that.
Right, it was 33-29. Right, like they beat the Ravens.
Okay.
Now, the Ravens their offensive players are dropping like flies right now.
Yeah, they did lose 2 people in 2 plays during training
No,
camp.
but I think they lost another offensive player or something this week or whatever. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's going to be a tough road to hoe there, I believe, for Baltimore. But they lost to the Vegas Raiders. But it wasn't for a lack of the Raiders trying to lose.
Okay.
Because they were. Like, they did everything they possibly could to not win that game. I know. What? Huh?
But how do you do that?
Well, how do you do that? Well, you keep giving the ball away to the other team. And then the other team is not able to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why that's where you get that problem. So I don't think that's going to be the issue against the Pittsburgh Steelers coming into Heinz Field for the Steelers home opener, who one of our good friends of the network, one of the partners, one of the greats out there, 5-star matchup is actually gonna be live, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, he's not gonna be broadcasting, but he's attending the game.
Yay.
So yeah, man.
It'll give him a really interesting perspective.
Right, big shout out. He said he was gonna try and put his show out like later. You know, he said I'll be in the hotel room doing it till 3:00 in the morning. I'm like, well, that's but looking forward to by the way, that's 5-star matchup. You can check him out online, Patreon, or you can check him out on YouTube. We do 5-star radio every Tuesdays. Check that out. That's a live show we do. We just talk about the Steelers. That's a great show.
It's a great show.
Yeah, and you got to check him out, man. He does great post-game commentary on the games and stuff, and he just has good content, and he's just one of the better ones out there, man. That's for sure. In fact, he's the best. That's why we call him the 5-star matchup, because he's in it. Anyway, so got to check that out. Looking forward to this game, and you know what? We got the highest paid linebacker already making a statement in TJ Watt.
Oh yeah, he made himself known, didn't he?
He surely came out and said, "What? 2 sacks? Training camp? What's training camp? That thing you go to where you train?
Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah, we don't. A training camp? That's almost as bad as dude gone playoffs?
Playoffs.
Playoffs. So, how about that? TJ Watt coming out making a statement. I think the entire defense made a statement.
I think so too. You had said something during the game that I found interesting. It was that all 3 parts of our team showed up. Our offense showed up, our defense showed up, and our special teams showed up.
Well, not on the first play of the game.
Well, no, but but with the blocked punt, that was a big turning point in the game.
I agree. You know what, but I think that touchdown to Deontay Johnson was also the turning point for the game as well, and maybe for Deontay Johnson as well. I think that was a turning point for him, saying, "Hey, I made the corrections I needed to make from last year, and by the way, Ben, you can trust me to throw me the ball now, and when we're gonna make the plays. So that's what we're hoping for, Mr. Johnson."
I mean, it wasn't the best game they've ever played, but
it took a minute.
It took an entire half.
Well,
they can't do that this game. They have to start.
So
in the start of the game, not the second half.
Right, I'm with you, but that's a great point, because I didn't even think about the fact that it took us that whole half to get rolling, and you have to be able to get rolling a little sooner. And I think it was that first game.
I know.
There was a lot of hype there, and Bills were coming in with a lot of hype. And look, I'm not taking anything away from Buffalo. I still think they have all the tools to potentially win the East.
Okay.
And if they want to have any kind of aspirations to make it to anywhere where they want to go, they need to win the East anyway. So I think they have some pieces and parts on their team that are good. Their defense up front is pretty good, but I think Pittsburgh's offensive line dominated.
Okay.
I think where where they need to get some help is on their back end. They've got great receivers. I think their offense is potentially dangerous. They have the ability to make those splash plays, especially with.
Well, the quarterback did a run.
Well, right.
Point,
he was.
didn't he?
Yes, he was one of their best runners. Which you don't really want Josh Allen out there running around either. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you want to get Emmanuel Sanders the ball a little bit more. That they picked up in the offseason.
Right.
Get him out there stretching the defenses out there more vertically and stuff like that. That's more the threat that I think Buffalo's going to have this year. But it just wasn't there for him for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was able to eat that up and be able to counterpunch. That's what me and Five Star keep talking about. How is Pittsburgh going to counterpunch whatever the opposition throws at us or at Pittsburgh? What's the counterpunch going to be? Oh, hey, you ran the ball for 14 plays and you ate up 6 minutes of clock and blah, 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 and you punch it in for a touchdown. What's Pittsburgh response is going to be to that?
Right.
Can you go back down and march the ball down the field and do the same thing? Or can you do a quick strike and bang, get it, and then get the ball back after a 3 and out?
Right.
And do another quick strike. I mean, that's counterpunching to what, an opposition would do to you. You know what I'm saying? So.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. First game. What do you think of the Canada offense?
I think it's going to take a little bit more game time experience for the players.
Yeah.
To get in sync with what's going on. I think that the more time that they have to practice, the better it's going to get, the more it's going to flow. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's
from
it's
what
still,
you saw, is it an improvement? Can you see improvement? Is there hope for improvement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I do see there's a gleam.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Gleam. Quoting the great, should be in the Hall of Fame, Marty Schottenheimer, when he was making the speech to the Cleveland Browns when they were playing against Denver Broncos. Unfortunately, Mr. Schottenheimer, the gleam was not for the Cleveland Browns during that game. But that's kind of how I feel here. Yeah. There is a gleam, there is a glimmer of hope here, I think. And that's why I've called the prediction that it's going to be tough for teams to figure Pittsburgh out in the first 5 games. Because they're looking at something that there's no tape of.
Right, because it's going to hopefully be new.
It is. That's the other thing, too. There was a lot of motions and shifts that, as a fan of this team, we haven't seen in the last almost decade.
Okay.
Right? Haley had some motions and shifts and stuff, and he had some jet sweeps, and Arians did too, but for the most part, we're seeing things that we're not used to seeing as Steelers fans, or even as analysts. You're seeing him using his style of offense
okay.
more, right? So, yes, that's why I think there's a glimmer of hope where I believe there's an improvement. Here, I'll show you. Here's an improvement for you. Look, even though Najee Harris did not successfully get 100 yards
okay.
in running the ball, but he was handed the ball all 21 times. And then he also lined up as a slot receiver, or he stayed behind for blocking. He played in 100% of the offensive snaps.
That's good, right?
Okay, so yeah, for a rookie, which Pittsburgh is fielding quite a large amount of rookies this year on the offensive line, on the defense. I mean, Pittsburgh picked players, from the draft that are, in starting playing now.
Right. There's no development needed. Just get on the field.
Or hey, guess what? You're going to learn on the fly. All right, cool, whatever. So that's what I think is going on here. And I think that by the time we get to say week 3,
yeah,
right, maybe week 4, but by week 3, Pittsburgh should be
Hitting the groove?
I'm trying to think of that song. I can't think of it, but it's riding down the highway. That's like you're just cruising now. Like everything's just all right. You don't have to think. You got. You go through the game plan and you work it out and you're like,
it becomes instinctual.
See, that's what I'm talking about there. That's what I'm talking about. So we need to get the offense to get to that point.
Right.
Okay. And with learning Matt Canada, and this is the other thing too, that Ben Roethlisberger specifically mentioned in his press conference, that this is the first time where he's not had the offensive coordinator on the field with him.
Yeah, he's up in the booth, right?
Right. And so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it and I'm going, well, wait a minute. That's actually a pretty good idea. And then 5 Stars said, that's actually a really good idea because you have a much better vantage point.
Right.
Strategically. Because you can see how when the offense lines up on a specific play, how the defense lines up. Well, when you see certain players out there on the defense, and you can call down to Ben in the helmet and be like, hey, man, call this play.
Right.
Because these are the guys we got on the field. Or quick, substitute. I mean.
Right. It does make a lot of sense, I think.
So that's what I think is going to be the biggest turnaround for Ben this year. He's still able to release the ball in under 3 seconds, which is one of the tops in the league still.
Yeah.
Right? And during his press conference as well, he also said that although he was a little bit sore, but he wanted to get hit, he wanted to feel that, he wanted to take that, but he said the elbow feels great.
Good. Well, I was going to say that didn't seem like Ben was getting back to that, moving more to get the ball free kind of thing. I don't know if we saw a lot of that last year.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. I think you're going to see more designed rollouts this year for Ben because that's part of Canada's system is to get the defense rolling one way and then, that's where you can do a lot of the counters and a lot of the trays is where you get when you get the stuff rolling one side and then you go back against to get it going the other way. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's part of what we saw in a lot of the what Canada was doing in college, and that's kind of how he was running his offense. You know what I mean? So, looking forward to this game for sure. We're very excited about the fact that we're going to have a home game that's going to have a full capacity stadium.
That's going to be interesting.
It's going to be...
Because, it's just weird because didn't have it last year.
I know.
We had some, but...
Right. It was so weird being... To watch the games last year, right? Because they were still showing the games on TV, but you would watch the game and you could, when the Steelers were at home, right? And there's nobody in the stands. There's no terrible towels. There's no Renegade being played. There's no...
I think they did play Renegade in a couple of the games, but it just wasn't the same without everybody singing along.
But right. Look, we have been ultra privileged to have attended numerous games in the past at Heinz Field, and we may still get to do one this year as well, too. But... to be there at Heinz Field when the song comes on, the crowd almost gets hushed right before it starts, right? Because you can hear, because the way the song starts, there's that little, in the background before it gets rolling, right? And so Renegade's playing, and the whole, it's like, you can feel the breeze flowing through the stadium. You know what I mean? And everybody is quiet and waiting for that
intro.
The crescendo of, the scream. And yeah, man, it's like being at that stadium to experience that.
It's very cool.
It's so cool. And... they're going to get to do that this weekend, and that's going to be, I'm envious, Well, we'll get there. But That's what's going to be the cool part, is seeing that, you know. I'm looking forward to Pittsburgh winning this game as well.
You think they'll win?
I have Pittsburgh winning the first 5 games.
Okay.
All right. Yes, I know. I get it. I get it. Last year, I actually predicted that the Steelers would go undefeated in the first 10 games.
You did predict that.
Right? Okay. So I feel that here's what I think is going to happen. Pittsburgh is the first 5 games until we get to our
bye week.
Bye week is going to win, or we'll lose 1. Right? So we'll be 5-1. Maybe. Right? When we get to the bye week, right? Because I think the reason why is because nobody right now has any tape on Pittsburgh.
Right, you said that before.
And this is all going to be new, and Canada has said that he's very, very keenly aware of his own tendencies, not to mention other teams' tendencies.
Right.
So if he's keenly aware of his own tendencies, meanings he's going to be changing things up, not continually, repeatedly doing the same things over and over and over again. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm going to be looking for. After that, you're going to see a little drop.
Okay.
Where Pittsburgh is not going to win the majority of the games in that little stretch.
Okay.
Okay, because now there's tape. Now there's some teams are starting to go, hey, wait a minute.
You're noticing some trends.
Yeah, when that guy runs over this way, this is what's going to, you know what I mean?
Right.
So then you're going to see how this is going to roll. If Pittsburgh can counterpunch and then win out.
Okay.
So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen this year for the schedule. I'm thinking we're going to win 12 games.
Hopefully.
Okay. That potentially will get us in the playoffs.
Okay.
Potentially. With 18 weeks this year. Okay, so there's 1 extra game.
It's so long.
I know. It's like, really? Really?
They're going to have to stop at 18.
I can't believe it's like, all right, the Super Bowl's played March 31st. And, wait a minute. We started back in August. Anyway.
But, I mean, the toll on the players, I can't see them being able to last. Because then if you're in the playoffs, you still have 4 more games and...
3. If you're in the playoffs.
Well, let's say you throw in the wild card too.
Yeah, so if you're a wild card, you have to play.
That's
3 total games.
22 games, man. That's a lot.
So you'd have to play, and then if you make it, then the Super Bowl. So that's 23 games.
Okay.
Right. So, but yeah, that's a lot of games to play, and then. There was 3 preseason games. Now,
right, I forgot about that.
Not the look. Let's face it. The preseason games are not for the starters.
Well, yeah, but you're still getting ready. You still have that.
You're training. You're going through the practices. You're doing the training camp. You know, you're just not playing in the games.
That's a lot because I know we've had this conversation. I mean, you've had it with other people, but I think football is tougher than hockey. On your body, the players.
Okay. You know, the great Perlo from the Perlo Wisdom Show. Check that out every day at 3 to 5 Eastern Time. You can check him out.
On YouTube.
Live on YouTube. The great Perlo Wisdom Show. There will be frolic. But yeah, he feels kind of the same way. He believes that football players are much better athletes than hockey players.
I don't think they're better athletes. I think
no, because of that reason.
I was going to say the toll on them is more than in hockey.
Right. And the fact that guys are more collision sport than hockey is not really a collision sport. Hockey is more of a contact sport.
Okay.
Okay, where, look, let's face it, if you're a lineman, your job is to line up against some other larger human being and slam into them. Okay, really? Like that's your job.
You're a human riverbank. I don't even know.
Yeah, right. You know,
concrete wall.
Whatever. You're a human foul shot. You know, whatever. But no, you're not a human foul shot. But the fact that you have to line up against somebody who is bigger or as big or whatever than you and slam into that person and to get paid, and that's how you make your living, I can see why a lot of people would say that football is it is tougher on your body, I believe, in that regard.
Okay.
Okay? But I believe that hockey players, and look, I played football not professionally by any stretch of the word, because let's face it, they don't have any positions out there for 5'10", 186-pound centers. But I played from the time I was able to put equipment on until I couldn't play anymore. Because once you get out of high school, that's it. Yeah, you're done. So played that long, but I can honestly tell you that I feel differently. I feel hockey players are much better athletes because of the amount of energy that they have to expend for the amount of time that they have to do it. A football play, you are pretty much standing around, sucking wind, hands on hips, walking around until you have to actually put your hand in the dirt.
Okay.
Right? Once you put your hand in the dirt, you got about 7 to 8 seconds of huffing and puffing and slamming and jamming, and then you're done. And then you walk back to the huddle, you stand around with your hands on your hips, you're sucking wind. It's another 40 seconds till you line up again. You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying, and hockey is much more...
you don't have that luxury of, you are go for your shift.
Yeah.
Right? So however long your shift is, where you could have a 30-second shift, I get you. Or you could have a minute 30-second shift.
Especially with icing and other things happening.
Power plays and all other stuff. And we've seen other players that have been out there for longer than 30-second shifts. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I have a much deeper respect for hockey players as far as athletically. You know what I mean? You don't have 400-pound guys skating around out there. And, look, it's funny that...
whose job it is to take you out.
Yeah, right. Is to stop you from going past this line. Like,
right.
Cross line. You know what I mean? But being in the trenches like that, those are big human beings. And that's their job, is to prevent you from getting past there.
Right.
So...
Okay, now that we've...
really covered that one.
We've had this conversation a lot.
Yeah, we've had. Maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
What do you think? Well, listen, what we're going to say right now is thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate all the support you guys have and that you've given us. We can tell you that one of the things we have upcoming is a shift in the website. We're going to do some new things here with the website. We're going to be offering some advertising space and doing some other things with the website where it's going to be much more easier and more user-friendly. So check that out for the days to come as well, too. And also, swag! Oh, yeah, we're going to be getting some swag. Some T-shirts are going to be rolling out here, hopefully in a month's time. Hopefully. Fingers crossed, so we'll have to see. But that's what we're aiming for, to get some swag, and be looking for the shop to be set up on the website as well, too, to be offering swag for some of your favorite shows, the Perlo Show, the Hockey Writers Inc., and also our show, SteelFlyers. So check us out. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to our co-host, RoNece.
Have a lovely afternoon.
And a lovely evening and a lovely morning, wherever you are and happen to be listening to us. Thank you all very much for tuning in. We will check you out the next time. Just remember, folks, stay safe, stay strong, and hang tough.